Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited to play with an eyeshadow palette, and I think you guys are gonna be really excited because I have the brand new Natasha Denona I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. So I saw this when I was just getting back into filming and I was like, wow. I'm excited to do a look with this palette today. We'll do swatches and then I'll give you my first impression. We'll see what we think about it. But I'm just really excited to play with eyeshadow and see if I still have any skill. It'll be a fun ride. But if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. I will link the palette down below as well as everything else that I end up putting on my face. I was gonna say all the other makeup I'm wearing, but I'm not wearing any. So I will have all of that information down below in the description box. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. I feel like I already said that, but you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm just happy to be back with you guys. And I think I'm gonna stop rambling. Let's go ahead and try out the new Natasha palette. Okay, so I always love to go over the palette details before we get into the demo. So this is the new Natasha Denona I Need a Nude eyeshadow palette. It is made in Italy. It retails for $69. Now this can be found at Sephora, Ulta, Natasha's website, Beautylish. Those are the ones I know of so far. I do have a code on Natasha's website now that is 15% off, so I will put it down below with the link. It is an affiliate code, and then I also can link it at all the other retailers. Now, I purchased mine from Sephora the day it launched. It still hasn't gotten here, and I ended up getting this in PR. So if I had known, I do get Natasha PR, but sometimes it doesn't come until later. Sometimes it's early. So I bought mine because I really wasn't sure, but I did get lucky to get this in PR before my package arrived, so I am using the PR. So this palette has a 24-month shelf life. It has 15 shades in it, a total net weight of 16.7 grams or 0.589 ounces. So this is the packaging on the box of the palette. Very sleek and neutral. And then on the back, you do have the information about the palette. And then here is the packaging on the actual palette. Has this cool sort of detailing. And then again, on the back, you can pop these out. And then it has a little sticker back here. So here is a look at the inside of the palette. I went ahead and dropped my brightness so you can really see the colors, hopefully. Now on Sephora's website, this is described as a must-have cool toned palette with 15 new shades in Natasha's iconic matte, metallic, sparkling foiled, and brand new wet effect formula. All right, so I went ahead and swatched the palette and wow, I'm gonna put some close-ups on the screen. I swatched it on my arm and you know, even after, I don't know, 10 years of doing this job, I still don't know how to swatch in a straight manner. So I can only show you from this angle, but I went ahead and did some close-ups. This palette swatched almost perfectly. I really didn't have any that stood out to me that I felt were hard panned or I had to build up or that swatched in a patchy manner. The new wet effect formula reminds me so much of the Scott Barnes natural palette. There's a couple shades in there that are just like, they're just like wet asphalt. Like they're that gorgeous and glittery. That's what the new shades remind me of. Whoo, it is stunning. I love the bronze and the glam palette. This one, I think it might be a new favorite because you can take it, you know, more smoky if you want to for nighttime, but it really is overall more daytime friendly where it's more that soft glam, I wanna say. So I like that it's not super deep, almost intimidating to where you have to use like blacks and do a super deep smoky eye, but you can if you want to. And the shimmers in here are stunning. I mean, there's just so many different sort of types. Like this one in the middle is like that chunky, really, really high shine. And it's, I mean, absolutely stunning. But then you have like the wet one that reminds me of the Scott Barnes, where it's more of like a glossy, it's not chunky at all. It almost feels like a cream. I'm looking at these two and I'm like, were these the two that she swatched, I wanna say on Instagram, and it was just absolutely stunning. So the effect you can see is similar, but this one is definitely super smooth, and then this one has more of that like chunky glitter. So I'm just excited to try this on my eyeballs. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe these swatches off, zoom you in, and we'll just start playing around with it. All right, so to start out the look, I'm gonna go in with this shade Stone, which is a really beautiful, cool matte shade. I'm just gonna take this and apply it really tight into my crease. Keep in mind, I've not done like a full eyeshadow look in a couple months. So we're gonna find out if I still know how to do eyeshadow. I know that Patrick Ta is coming out with an all matte palette, and I know that it's boring, but I have to say I'm excited. I'm excited. And I think Danessa Myricks as well, which it kind of seems like brands all do the same thing at once, but I'm not complaining. So far this shade in the pan has some kick up, but nothing extraordinary or that bothers me. Okay, to soften that out a little bit, I'm gonna take the shade Mesh, which is a lighter, similar tone. And I'm just gonna go and sort of just blend upwards. So far, everything is blending really easily. These mattes feel really soft and they don't feel overly dry, which is nice. Very smooth. Now to really add some depth, I'm gonna go in with Tender, and I think I'm gonna mix in a little bit of Silhouette just to get that depth I'm looking for. I'm gonna focus this on the outer portion and then sort of blend in a little bit. Now to go back in and add that depth, I'm gonna take Tender on that first brush and just go through the crease area. And to further soften the edges, I'm gonna take Fair, which is like that creamy color, and I just wanna go above and around. I always have just a struggle on the outer corner because of my microblading and then all of the concealer that I have to use to cover up the tail of my brow. Okay, so this might seem a little bit backwards, but I'm gonna do a half wing on each eye, and then we're gonna get into the shimmers. I just feel like it blends better on my lids. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I wanna jump into the different textures for shimmers. Okay, so for on the lid, I wanna go in with Delilah. This one just looks stunning. I'm gonna try a brush first. This, I believe, is one of the new formulas. And it just has like a beautiful, sparkly look to it. Now on the eye, with a brush, it's looking not as intense as on the finger. Yeah, you definitely wanna use your finger if you want the most intensity, but this is also more of a deeper shade. So I'm gonna start off with that, and then I'm gonna play around and add some other shimmers. The other shade that has that wet effect is this one, Sheen. This one doesn't look as intense, but I'm gonna go ahead and attempt to apply this on top. This one I feel like is more translucent, whereas Delilah is more pigmented. So I'm actually gonna go in, I might add a little bit of, maybe I'll take Muse. I think I'm gonna take Muse, which is that middle chunky shade. This one definitely adds like a really glittery texture. So I'm just gonna put this sort of in the center. And then just because I wanna add a little warmth, I'm gonna go in with the shade Wit. It's like a peachy color, and I'm just going to blend all around the edges up here, pretty much up into my brow. All right, and to brighten up the inner corner, I'm gonna try to take a little bit of Mia. This one, I would say you probably wanna use your finger with. I'm just sort of playing around with all these shades, and then I'm probably gonna add that into the inner corner once I finish the rest of my makeup. All right, so I went ahead and put some mascara on, and then I did add on these Auric lashes in Clouded. I used the half lash, so these come with a full and a half. So I applied those. I'm going to curl them off camera, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup except for my under eyes, and then I will be back to finish the lower lash line, and we'll see what our final look looks like. Okay, so I went ahead and did the rest of my makeup off camera. I will link everything that I used down below. I'm still testing out some new products and I think I have some new favorites, but I wanna go ahead and finish the lower lash line. So I'm really happy with the way that the upper lid turned out. And of course, I'll continue to play with this palette. This is just my first impressions, but I wanna go in with the deepest shade called Silhouette. I think I'm gonna mix a little bit of it with the tender shade, and I'm gonna use a really small brush, and I'm going to put this right on the lower lash line, not in the waterline, but as close as I can get. I think looking at my camera footage, I don't know, the lighting is off a little bit. Something is a little too warm maybe, so I'll have to adjust that. So I am gonna take this all the way across. Just like that, it looks beautiful. I'm gonna have to blend it out, but we're just gonna start off this way. Okay, and then once I have that laid down, I'm gonna go into the color Tender, and I'm just going to smoke this out with a different brush. So I'm just gonna smoke this out. So far, I really have no complaints. And then if I need to go back in with that deeper shade, just to reinforce it. Okay, and then to smoke this even further, I'm gonna mix that tender shade that I was using, but I'm gonna try to add in a little bit of this mesh shade just to bring in a little bit, I don't wanna say warmth, but it's really cool unless you dip into those more like pinky sort of like salmon colors. So just dragging this down. Now for the waterline, I'm gonna use my Gucci liner. This is in 01, and I'm just going to apply this to the waterline. Send me a prayer because I'm still dealing with a little irritation on my eyes. So pretty much right after this video, I'm gonna have to take my contacts out and maybe wash this off, unfortunately. I just have to really limit my contact use and keep doing my drops. Now to brighten up the inner corner, I wanna go in with that Mia shade, which has a pink hue to it, and I just wanna add this on the inner corner. Definitely have some fallout with this shade. Probably would be better used with like a setting spray or your finger, but. And then to add a little bit of shine on the lower lash line, I'm gonna go in with the shade Ella. It's really beautiful. It's like pigmented, metallic, with glitter in it. And I'm gonna use this right in the center of the lower lash line. I just wet my brush a little bit to get it to apply a little bit better. All right guys, so here's my finished makeup look using the new Natasha Denona palette. I really love how it turned out, but I wanna give you my initial first impressions. So of course you guys know that I love her midi palettes. I just think the price point is just more fair for what you get. You do get 15 shades, so I feel like this is the sweet spot. You don't have to spend over 100 for her big palettes, but the mini palettes only give you like 5 colors. So I feel like you get a good variety in here. This truly is a cool tone palette that can be day to night. I really like that there's all these different variations. You can go very cool like I did mostly with these more sort of like pebble stone colors. And then you can bring in a couple of the more like peachy salmon colors to bring a smidge of warmth, but it's still overall very cool toned. I really, really love this shade in the middle. It is crazy intense. So if you're wanting like that high shine, this shade is where it's at. If you want more of like a soft glam look, I would go for some of the more wet looking shades. This shade is gorgeous, but it is a little bit deeper. So depending on what shadow you place it on top of, it'll give you that shine when you hit the light or when your eyes hit the light. I have to say the whole time I was using this, I kept thinking that this reminds me of the Patrick Ta Major Dimension palette, but in cool tone colors. The formulas in here remind me of that because because there's a lot of different variety and textures. And then you have the beautiful array of mattes to choose from. These shades that are like the wet shades remind me a little bit of the Patrick Ta, but totally different in the way they feel. They give you that beautiful like sparkle. It's almost like a sophisticated glitter wet look, but they have a different texture. The Patrick Tas are more dry and you really have to build them up. These are more like smooth. So the formula itself feels different and applies different, but they look similar on the lids. You just get that beautiful glittery, soft glam look. So you get a ton of different options in here, which again reminds me of the Patrick Ta, because you really just have so many different textures to work with. You have really chunky shimmers, then you have these wet look, and then you have your more standard shimmers with pigment. Some are more sheer, and then the mattes, they blended beautifully. I had no issues. I have not done a full eyeshadow look and worn lashes in 2 months. So hopefully I did okay for just like not doing it for a while. It's sort of like riding a bike, you know, it's like you just get back on and you're like, okay, I sort of remember how to do that. So overall, I think this palette is gorgeous. I love that this isn't crazy deep where you feel like you sort of have to do a smoky eye. Like when we're thinking about the bronze palette or the soft glam, is it the soft glam palette? Or I think it's just the glam palette. I'm getting confused with ABH. But when you think about that palette, there's a lot of deep tones, a lot of almost like New Year's Eve type tones, and it's pretty dark for every day. Whereas when I look inside this palette, if you wanted to do a beautiful everyday look, and honestly, you can wear whatever you want any day, but for me personally, I would reach into maybe one of these lighter shades, and then you could dust on one of these and you'd be good to go. You have a nice subtle sparkle. So I feel like anybody could use this. I think it's gorgeous if you love cool tones and you love shimmers. There's a lot of metallics, shimmers, wet glitter looks in here. You will love this palette. I think it's absolutely stunning, and it totally is different from her bronze and her glam palettes, just because even though the glam is cool toned, that one is much more like silver black cool toned, whereas this one has some fun, different, more grayish colors. And like I said, almost like those cool tone khakis and even like leaning salmon. So I think people are gonna love this palette. I love the look that I came up with. I do wanna play around some more and maybe not use as many of the stone colors and go more for the browns, those salmony colors, flesh tone colors. So I'm excited to keep testing this out. If you guys want me to, I can use it in another like trying new makeup video and just play around. But overall, I didn't struggle at all. I think it's a beautiful palette. 10 out of 10, recommend this. I think a lot of you guys are going to love this palette. I actually just pulled up Sephora to check something on the palette and it's sold out. And I'm like, whoa. I mean, to sell out that fast, Natasha's stuff sells well, but really to sell out that fast, I think people are just really gonna love the colors in this palette. So I will link it down below from the other retailers you can grab it at, as well as Natasha's website with my discount code if you wanna get 15% off. Let me know what you think about this look. I feel like I was a little rusty in explaining stuff, but I'll get back into it. I'm happy to be back and filming and just chatting with you guys. Thank you for all the love on my previous video. And now we're just gonna get back to the makeup, as we should. So I'll have more videos coming your way. My goal is, 2 videos a week at least. So let me know what you want to see next. I think next I'm going to do a Sephora haul because I have a lot of stuff I've been buying and I just haven't even shown you guys. So that will be coming next. Let me know down below if you picked this up or if you're passing on it. And if you did get it, let me know if you're loving it or what your thoughts are. I love to chat with you guys in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.